Hey everybody, welcome into another edition of Spit Ballin with Sammy B. Sammy B and the big number 7-2 here to my left. We're coming to you from Jerzees Cafe at the Centennial Plaza in Downtown Canton. A great place to hang out. Check out all the big games on the big screen here to my right. You can come in here for the Buckeyes games, the Browns. You can stop in for a late night drink. You can come down here on First Fridays. There's so much to do, so many places to check out, and a great place to come before, during, and after is right here at Jerzees Cafe. Shout out to Chris Majori and his great staff here at the Centennial Plaza in Downtown Canton. Well, feels like November. It looks like November. A little gray, a little rain, a little chill in the air, but that's how we like it here in Northeast Ohio. Getting rolling here with another edition of Spit Ballin. And first, before, we're going to get into the Browns a little bit. I quit monkeying around with my microphone for no reason. We'll talk a little Buckeyes. We will get into a little bit of the high school playoff games coming up this weekend, and we'll throw some other stuff on the fire as well. But I want to first go with a topic that's been kind of heavily talked about the last couple of days, and, hey, why not beat the dead horse one more time? And it's the decision that Massillon and Lake will be going to Byers Field in Parma to play their regional championship game, Division II Region 7, this Friday night. First, I want to get a couple things out of the way so people can understand my stance and TJ's and where people need to start thinking about when they see decisions by the OHSAA that are made, okay? First of all, number one, the OHSAA cannot force you to host a football game. They cannot tell a school to host a football game, okay? The school or the stadium or the location has to say, hello, OHSAA, we understand you've got some playoff games this weekend. We would like to be considered to be a host. Okay, that's the first thing that has to happen. You have to want to host a playoff game, number one. Number two, there are costs involved in hosting a playoff game. And we'll get back to that here in a second. Number three, the facility has to be adequate for A, the number of fans, B, the media, C, concessions, restrooms, parking, handicap accessible. All these things go into it. Power. I mean, I've been to games where we've had power outages because the place couldn't hold it, okay? And, nowadays, with the influx of technology and media between radio and TV and apps and like what we've got going here with Stark Media, okay? There's a lot of bandwidth that gets sucked up, and there's a lot of energy and a lot of juice that you need. And the more that these other entities pop up to show up to do things, sometimes it gets a little cozy, okay? So I want to get that out of the way because the first thing people say is, what the hell are they doing going to Parma? It's right. Two Stark County teams. They should be playing in Stark County. And by the way, they should be. But if there's nobody willing to host, you've got to look somewhere else. And people will say, well, Sam, so you're not blaming the OHSAA because it's the locations that have to host? Don't get that twisted. I am blaming the OHSAA because they are not making it attractive enough for locations to host the games. It never used to be like this, big fella. Schools and locations used to line up to host these games. You know why? Because they made money, and they did a great job. And now the purse strings have been held back, and the schools are saying, we're out. That's why we're at where we are right now.
I heard you guys talking a little Browns football back over there before we started. So Money Manziel, he wasn't too far off, was he? It's all about the dollars, right?
It is. Sad to say, even as we talk about high school football, it's follow the money. And I will say this. If I was the athletic director of a school, I would say no. I'm not going to lose money on hosting a game. First of all, it's a night that I could have off All right. And you know these ADs put in 1 million hours. Okay. Number 2, you got to get other people to come work for you that night.
Volunteers.
Number 3, you've got to get volunteers to come that night. And once you go through the list of expenses and costs and hours and manpower and everything like that, you're losing money. So why on earth would you host a game? Hey, let's go lose a couple grand. What do you say? Who would do that?
And who wants to go and volunteer in this weather?
That too.
A little too chilly to volunteer.
That too.
For a football game, for a different cause, a charitable cause, different story.
Sign us up.
But to come out there and as you said, does Scott Garcia at Glen Oak High School want to lose $3,000-$4,000 to go turn the lights on, get a bunch of volunteers out there, pay some people to come out and do parking, all this stuff, and to lose money? No, he's not going to do it. Now this situation feels it's like a complete 180 from what happened last year in the regional final when the Tigers were getting set to take on the Green Bulldogs, and it was set to be host at Northwest High School. Yeah. And Jason Hathaway, athletic director, had it all lined up, teed up perfectly. Hey, we're going to keep this thing right here where it's supposed to be, in town, in Stark County, kind of halfway right in between. Lined up perfectly, right? And then there was a lot of bitching and complaining and saying it's not big enough. And as you mentioned, the first thing, facilities. I know that there's a set number. I believe it's right around 7,500 to 8,000 seats that you have to be able to hold. Your facility has to be able to hold to be able to accommodate an OSHA playoff game.
Yeah, especially at the regional level. First couple rounds, maybe not. And look, I'll be 100% honest with you. I think 8,000 is adequate for this game.
I think you're right.
And I can hear it now. Matter of fact, I can see you now, all of you. Oh, what do you mean? The Tigers will bring 15,000 people to this game. Lake Hall, come on, we're in the regional champion. You want to bet me?
Yeah.
You want to bet me there's 8,000 people at this game? I say no.
Right.
I say no.
You know, and I think last year that was where the complaining came from, was that, oh, can Northwest and their facility in Canal Fulton really hold this ball game, a regional final between Green and Massillon? And they didn't think it could. It very well could have. It would have been plenty fine because, as you and I saw, when they switched it down to Arlen Field in Mansfield, there wasn't more than 8,000 people there.
No. Now, you could argue, I don't think that Dr. Martin Smilik Stadium will hold 8,000 people. Matter of fact, I know it doesn't. It probably might hold 5,000. I'm not sure. And that was probably the right move last year. Whether the right move was to go to Mansfield, it ended up you didn't need 12,000 seats. That's what Arlen Field holds. But all I'm saying is I do agree with a lot of people that are complaining on social media. And I got to admit, when I saw this, we all saw it first pretty much. And I had the feeling of, you have got to be kidding me.
Yep.
And I thought, okay, Sam, step back, relax. You know how this works. Okay? Woosah. All right? Bad Boys reference there. You know how this works. You know you got to have hosts. You got to. I get it. So after a couple hours of huffing and puffing, I posted it. We all posted on Stark Media and our personal pages and everything. And I'm looking at the comments, and I'm thinking, all right, people really don't know still, after all these years, since 1972, they don't know what all goes into hosting a game, whether they go to that site or they don't. So we kind of sat back here a little bit, and I thought about it, and my thought was, wow, in Stark, I'll go down to Tuscarawas County, okay, between Stark, Tusk, maybe Wayne, Summit, maybe even Portage. How many unbelievably awesome facilities are there in that radius? 30, 40? And I'm talking about with capacity, with great parking, great volunteer base, plenty of restrooms, plenty of concessions, plenty of room. All the good things. And not one of them said, you know what? We'll take that game. So I started thinking, okay, number one, finances, and number two, do they just not want to be bothered?
Could be that. A lot of people feel like, oh.
And that's scary.
It is.
To me, that's scary.
It is. And you know, from our friends out west, a lot of people will say, oh, nobody wants to host the Tigers. the Jackson Polar Bears or the Perry Panthers. They don't want to host the Tigers. There are people around the area that feel like everybody's against Massillon, and there's this big stigma over there. I think you can wipe all that stuff out. If a school wanted to host,
all of it,
a good bit of it, but if a school wanted to host, and it made financial sense, they would do it. I mean, we're on to the bottom line right here, and the bottom line is the bottom line.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, you swallow whatever animosity or anger you have if you can start doing this.
Right.
And I first of all, I would love to get a straight answer, and I don't know who to go to. I want a straight answer from the OHSAA or the schools around here. What exactly is the pay to host? I've seen $750. I've seen $2,500. I've seen $2,800.
That's the
I've
ballpark I've
seen $1,500. Why is this information not out there? Why don't we have a set number? Okay, school, you get X amount of dollars, and that's it. So we're paying for your facility, and we're gonna cover expenses up to $1,500, $2,000, $3,000. I will tell you right now, that's not enough money.
Right.
You're losing money. You're still losing money.
Yeah.
But I want a number so we can start to figure some things out here. Our guy Drew, I think it was Drew, or maybe it was Jeff Tyler. I can't remember who it was. In one of our text chains that go 24 hours a day, it's great entertainment, said, what about maybe coming to a corporate business or a community business and ask them to maybe help offset the cost to host a game, give that money to the facility, give them some advertising out of it, some signage, what have you, make it worth their while, and so they get a little bit of, they'll get some advertising out of it, they get the goodwill feel of it, the community feel, which is always important, especially in Stark County. And why not do that? And I thought, man, that's a great idea. Maybe one of the hospitals, one of the car dealerships, one of the banks, one of the big restaurants, maybe one of the law firms, maybe go to them and say, hey, could you kick us $2,500? Add that to what the OHSAA is going to pay, and now maybe we're cooking with some oil. I don't know if that happened, but I would think that maybe, and it's not too late, by the way, maybe that would be a way to go.
Right, and I think when you talk about $2,500 from the OHSAA and $2,500 from maybe a corporate sponsor, I think when you put those two numbers together, that's roughly, I believe, what schools used to get back in the day.
You might be close.
Don't quote me, but there's some athletic directors that have told me that back in the mid '90s they were getting $5,000. Come over here, we'll host this thing. Here's a check for $5,000. Offset all your costs. Let's work out the concession. Let's work out the gate. Let's make it good for everybody.
Make it good for everybody. Everybody wins.
And then you open your doors. Your doors open a lot easier when it's good for everybody.
Yep.
When it's not, doors are shut.
And look, when you get to open those doors, and again, I don't know. Not only do I not know what the amount is, the straight amount, I'm not sure what all the rules are now. I don't know, and I've tried to find this out. I don't know who gets the concession money. I don't know who keeps the parking. I don't know who keeps the program advertising sales. I'm not sure who all gets a piece of that. I do know that the OHSAA, not very long ago, before this COVID came in, schools used to get a 20% piece of the pie on pregame ticket sales. Gone. OHSAA keeps all the ticket money now. They keep it all. I also know that they have cut a little bit out of their reimbursement fees to teams for gas that have to travel maybe 2-3 hours away. They've cut into that. So they've taken the percentage away. They've taken some of the reimbursement money away. Now you've cut the fee down, and you might be taking more of the other ancillary parts. Again, I ask, why would anybody host?
Right, and then you're hitting on a whole other topic, finding bus drivers, because a lot of these schools around here cannot find bus drivers, and they're actually having to cancel different events or postpone, delay, reconfigure when you're going to have it to be able to have drivers
Why
available.
is that?
It's hard. It's hard for a lot of businesses to find a lot of people to work anymore.
Why?
You got restaurants.
Or is that another show?
That's the COVID show. That's the
that's
COVID
another
part
show.
2 show. Yeah,
How many times have I seen signs in the yards of schools? Big signs like this here. Hiring bus drivers, 13, 15. Every school district I've seen, you can't find a bus driver.
Yep.
We never used to be able to have problems finding a bus driver. Why now?
Used to always be able to find good short order cooks. A lot of places
Why?
Can't even open up the restaurant
Again,
anymore because the food side, you can't find somebody to go back there, prep it, cook it, all that stuff. I mean, I think we're just living in a new day and age.
I think we're living in a world of wussification is what we're doing.
There you go. Hopefully it doesn't show up on
another show for another day, but I mean, come on. That's where we're at.
That was us freezing our butts off on Saturday night. I mean, there's a different cut and a different breed of people out there these days, Sammy B, and it's not what you were born and raised into. It's not what I grew up around, and things have changed a little bit. I think we have to all be willing to accept that, as hard as it is, but things certainly have changed.
I won't accept. I won't give in to what is going on. I won't do it. And you can't make me. You can't make me do that. So that's kind of where we're at. And I'm also a little bit surprised, I guess, that there hasn't been more of a groundswell from the Massillon and Lake people, fans, workers, whatever, players, moms, dads, to maybe try to get that game moved. I mean, the groundswell that happened last year, it was, 36 hours? And it went from Canal Fulton to Mansfield.
Right.
This year there's been like a little bit of, oh, man, but then it kind of stopped. Now, look, we're lucky we will be indoors, okay? Now, windows will be open, I promise you that. But, folks, if you look at the forecast for Friday night, it's going to go down to 16, okay? And if you've never been to Parma Byers Field, we've been there. I have never been there in my life when the wind hasn't been howling at 35 miles an hour, okay? Do me a favor. When you go to Parma this weekend, first thing I want you to do, after you drive around 5 hours to find a parking spot, when you pull in and walk inside the stadium, look at the flags. I want you to look at the flags and what they're doing, okay? It's an older place. It's an older place. It's kind of stood the test of time. A lot of games have been played up there, a lot of playoff games. I've been there. I can't tell you how many times I've been to Byers Field since I was 8 years old. Also, Holy Name plays there. Padua plays there. Parma Senior plays there. Ignatius and Eds over the years have played a lot of playoff games there. And they do a nice job hosting. But, again, we're sitting here in the heart of it all. And you got to travel an hour and 10 minutes, and you got to go up there in the cold. And I don't know. I think the fans are kind of getting hosed here a little bit.
I think they are, but I think at this point now, I think they're just maybe they're kind of happy about the size of the venue, even though it's an hour trip away. I think they've just said, you know what? I like the venue. I like the accommodations. I like the size of it. We had Nate Moore in studio last night. Nate Moore said, you know what? I love the fact that we're playing up there. He goes, it does not bother me at all. Now, again, it comes from the fans' perspective. Who wants to drive an hour away for something that two schools who live about 15, 20 minutes apart right here in county should be having right here in county? You can go to the game. You can be home by 9:30, 10 o'clock, and it's all good. And you just touched on the people that play up there. Surprisingly, Holy Name and Parma Padua are going to be playing each other for a regional title.
Not in Parma. not in Parma. Wait, Parma, Holy Name, Parma. Okay. So they're not even. Again, take a breath. Take a breath, everybody. We are here at the Jerzees in downtown Canton at the Centennial Plaza. Another edition of Spit Ballin with Sammy B, TJ Downing to my left. So we'll kind of bring that whole thing full circle. We've been approved for our passes. We're ready to go.
So wait, did you hear Massillon and Lake are playing for the first time ever? You heard that? You heard about that? Is that happening this weekend?
I believe it is. By the way, the media has to park at Byers Field. They have to pay to park. But whatever. So here we go. We're going to play ball. Going to be cold. It's going to be a battle of 12-1 teams. It is the first time, by the way, Lake and Massillon have played. And we are getting to the point in the season. Everybody's banged up a little bit. Both teams may or may not have guys that are not completely 100%. But if you're Coach Dan DeGeorge of Lake and you're Nate Moore of Massillon, I don't think you really need to do a whole lot of hoorah for this. I mean, this is a regional championship. This gets you one step closer to a state championship appearance at Tom Benson Hall of Fame Stadium, which is sitting empty, by the way, this weekend. Snickers and laughs every time I say something. You don't need a whole lot of, I mean, boys, put your helmets on, put your mouthpieces in, and let's run through that paper coming out of the locker room and let's go. I mean, that's it. This is Lake. This is Massillon. It's Tigers. It's Blue Streaks. It's Stark County. It's a regional championship.
You know, it's twofold for me. It's what we've kind of built up all season long. If you know our friends out there that have followed along with us on Stark Media, social media platforms, whether you go over to Twitter and get us at Stark Media Team, over on Facebook, Instagram, wherever it may be, over on our YouTube channel, we've had our graphics that have had our power rankings all year long.
Yes.
And who have been the top two dogs at the top
all season long.
All season.
1-2.
Other than a couple people trickled into Bulldogs there for a little bit, but it's been Massillon and Lake all year long. Yep. We've been waiting for this. I got to see him in the opener, the Lake Blue Streaks, when they beat Alliance pretty good out there at Mount Union Stadium. That same night, you saw Massillon Tigers take on Moeller.
Big Mo.
You know, and they would drop that game. I think that game goes a complete different direction as it may sit now, because about 5 weeks later, you saw them beat St. Ed's inside of Paul Brown Tiger Stadium. The following week, I saw them dismantle an undefeated Fitch team. They handled their business all the way up through the McKinley game at the end of the season. Tight ball game, 23-13. But since then, I mean, you look at some of the things that the Tigers have done defensively, they're just snuffing people out.
That's where they are buttering their bread.
I mean,
there's this defense.
This guy Nate Sievers from Big Walnut, you know, he was averaging like 150 to 175 yards a game, and they bottled him up to just 75 yards. The week before, they put a goose egg up against Canal Winchester. Now, a lot of people say the brand of football that's played down in Franklin County, not the same as what it is up here. I agree. But still, in the playoffs, second round, to put a 0 up there, that's a big deal, right? The week before, again, the backyard brawl, just 7 points for the Perry Panthers. Yep. This defense has been lights out. The offense is clicking. Will Charles Hartson, to me, still the most underrated back in the state of Ohio because he's not getting the offers that he deserves. And if you question his speed, which I know a lot of college coaches
go
have,
try to catch him.
Go watch the 78-yard touchdown run that he had last week where he smoked everybody on Big Walnut down the sideline. The kid is what you look for in a back. All right, now for the Lake Blue Streaks, Dan DeGeorge is going to tell you that if I was going to win a state championship, this is the year to get it done. They're huge up front. You got 230, 240, 285 in Styles Dietz, 315 Jack McAvenue, 270 Anthony Miller. We haven't seen a whole lot of that from the Lake Blue Streaks over the years that you've been covering them.
No.
Look at the defense for them. Linebackers are studs. Christopher, Lippy, Garo, Evan Brady. These guys are getting after it. And mix in Will Butler, who's transferred down. Lake has some power. Now, you saw it last week, Sam. I can't speak to how bad it is or if he will play. I doubt he will. But whatever happened to Matt Solberger with his ankle, him being out, I think affects the complexity of this game. Because what do you do now if you're Dan DeGeorge? We know that you flip-flop Cale Jarvis and Will Butler all season long. Some people say, I think you should have just rolled with Will Butler. I'm one of those guys. Nothing against Cale Jarvis, but who gives me the best chance to win? That's who I want in. And now it's like, okay, do we just roll with Cale and put Will Butler at the tailback position?
I think that's what you have to do.
Right?
And oh, by the way, that worked out really well last weekend. On the fly.
Yeah.
Because remember, when Matthew went out, and God, I hope you're going to be okay, my man, because you are so fun to watch.
Prayers, yep.
But when you go out the second play of the game, now what do? So
adapt or die.
What they did is they started the adaptation. Is that a word? They went in with Charlie Christopher Okay. Joey Garrow got in there for a little bit, and I think by then Will Butler was on the sidelines going like this, hey, Coach, put me in the game. They did, and the rest is history. Now, some will say, well, it won't be that big of a difference if Solberger is not playing. I disagree there because you got to get Will Butler off the field to catch his breath. He's a very good defensive player too. So if he's going all the snaps on offense, all the snaps on defense, I believe he holds on extra points and field goals, if I'm not mistaken. I might be, but I don't think I am. You got to give the kid a break, especially against a team like Massillon, who will two-platoon you to death, okay? So I do think it's going to be a difference. And, again, we don't know if Matthew is going to play. I would be shocked if he did. The injury, it didn't look good, okay? So you got your plan in place now. I keep Kale as my QB, and I let Will Butler – I put in a whole bunch of stuff this week for Will, okay? And it doesn't necessarily have to be trick plays, but – you know, they run that jet sweep with Baker a lot, and he was so much fun to watch. You can stop on a dime and go left to right, and you can't catch him. I would probably work on some 1-2-3 step, get rid of it kind of deals. Look, a Lake can go by you. Baker, Snyder, those guys can run past you. I don't know if you can keep Massillon out of the backfield long enough to open up a 30, 40, 50-yard flag route, okay? So I think you go with Jarvis. You go with Will in the backfield. You line them up as an H-back, an I-back, a tailback, inverted wishbone, bring Christopher in there. You could do a whole lot of things there. And, look, it's something that Massillon is not going to have on film because you haven't done it all season. Now's the time.
All right, I'm going to cue up the John Fogerty music here. Put me in, coach, because Will Butler's ready to play. And the only thing I will disagree with you on, Sam, is that this is I don't know if he's 17 or he's 18 yet or not, but he's a well-conditioned athlete. I think at this time right now of the season, he's good to go both ways. I don't think Will Butler probably wants to come off the field.
Probably not, but I'm going to at least get him 5 plays off.
And,
you know what I mean?
And as you say, you look at the way Massillon rolls things, they don't have anybody going both ways. I mean, Chase Bond might be the closest thing to going both ways at D end and tight end, but he's not your starting tight end. So I think you have to be cognizant of that. I mean, is their freshness going to affect a guy that has to go both ways? Now, in regards to the pass game, I'm going to put on my OC hat here.
Okay.
If I'm attacking the Massillon Tigers, I'm going downfield because I don't believe in your back half of the defense as much as I am a believer in the front half of the defense. We had Ryan Page in studio the other night. We've had Jaden Welch in studio. I think these are great guys. They're great, phenomenal athletes. But when tested by Nate Baker, Ty Miller, Dylan Schneider.
Ty Miller's the other guy.
Mix those guys together with some deep stuff. Maybe, just maybe, you use Will Butler as a decoy.
Could do that.
And try and pass the ball downfield because I think if you're going to beat the Massillon Tigers, you are going to have to pass the ball downfield. I think that is the recipe. If I'm offensive coordinator, I'm finding a way to attack the seams. I'm finding a way to attack the cornerbacks and the middle of the field and let the chips fall where they may. It's a great football team. They're both two great football teams.
Yep.
They would not be in the regional final if they weren't.
It sucks that one of them has to lose. It's a good news, bad news. The bad news is you're going to lose one. The good news is we still got one.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
Right.
It's kind of one of those deals.
Oh, yeah.
But-
What's on the backside? Maybe Hoban or Hudson, Avon, TCC.
Yeah, well.
Kings.
Don't sleep on. How about Kings to beat Winton Woods, who I thought might take the whole thing this year.
Yeah.
And Winton Woods is out of here. I want to go back to the Massillon-Moeller game. Moeller ran right at Massillon. I mean, right at him. That was week 1. Okay, this was week 14. Things have changed. I don't think you can do that anymore. I agree with my partner here. I think Lake's got to chuck it a little bit. and throw it around the yard and see
Massillon's
what happens.
defensive front was not ready at that point. Chase Bond was out, Malachi
Right.
Card
Right.
and Maverick Clark. They were still kind of getting their feet and legs underneath them. I think Marcus Moore was trying to figure out, okay, are we going to play him at offensive tackle, which they did that game, or just keep him fresh at defensive tackle? Insert a guy like Evan Sergo, who's had a phenomenal year at tackle, and it's freed up Marcus to be able to just go one way. That helps a lot.
That helps.
You know,
That helps.
so I think the defense is in a different position now. I think Lake's defense, I really enjoy watching them play. I love seeing these linebackers work off of each other. Charlie Christopher is going to follow in the footsteps of his daddy. He's a tough football player. I like Charlie Christopher and what he does. And Evan Brady, to me, if you're sitting here saying that Dorian Pringle is the best linebacker in the county, Evan Brady is right there
Evan
next
Brady's
to him.
right there.
Right there.
And the thing that I love about both these defenses, their instinct. They are so like football cerebral savvy. You don't see that a lot at the high school level. They know where to go, how fast to get there, and when to get there, and what to do when they get there. And I think that both teams have guys on their field, especially the defensive end, they're more than sneaky fast. They're quick fast, buy you fast, and you don't know it. Like Evan Brady made a couple plays last weekend. I thought, what did he just do? Covered like 25, 30 yards in a blink of an eye and made a play. And delivered a crunching blow in one of the hits last weekend against Westerville South. And you talked about guys like Pringle and guys on the back end with Massillon. They got and that's coaching.
Yeah.
It's God-given ability, and it's also coaching. And what can you say about the job that Coach DeGeorge and Coach Moore have done and their staff with these kids to get them where they're at now? Folks, football season now in the state of Ohio, thanks to everybody gets a cookie and juice box, gets in the playoffs, it's a long season. If you go the whole route, you're going 16 weeks.
Whew.
16. Okay? You played 10 regular season games, and now they ask you to play 6 more. Oh, by the way, you've had 2 or 3 scrimmages before that, okay? It's a long season. So think of the job that the staffs have done with these kids.
Keep them locked
to
in.
keep them head in, locked in, and just doing the right thing. And here's a reward. You are playing for a regional championship. And whoever wins that, and they get that regional trophy, which they'll hoist for about 2 seconds, and then the guy's like, you know what, this ain't what we're coming here for. Now you're in the semifinals, which is one more step away. And you can start to see that carrot, okay? You can start to see that carrot out there, and then it gets fun.
At that point, it's one win, and you're in Tom Benson Hall of Fame Stadium playing for a state championship. You know, it's there.
You're
see what happens.
in.
Roll it out there, and let the chips fall where they may. But are we predicting like a 10-7 ball game here? As much as we're talking about these two defenses.
Ooh, you know, TJ, it's going to depend. It's going to depend on the weather.
Yeah.
If the winds are howling, and they always are, 20, 30 miles an hour, that's going to
10
affect
passes thrown between both teams.
That's going to affect the passing game.
80 handoffs.
It's also going to affect the punt game, and the extra point, in the kickoff, in the possible field goal attempts. All this comes into play. And people get all crazy about snow and rain. It's the wind. Ask the coaches. It's the wind that can screw things up. So, obviously, both these coaches are going to have their kids prepared. Guys, we may be throwing the ball into whatever. So we got to be ready. We got to be ready for that.
Mind you, I'll leave you with my one last nugget from the extra point game. Nolan Hendricks and Vinny Keller from Massillon have been shaky this postseason. They flip-flop between both. They both have missed extra points in this game. You know more about the kicking game with Lake than I do. I think it's a little bit more solid across the board. But
Dutton is done. Look, you've seen how many Massillon games? 5, 6, 7?
I've seen 5 now, yes.
Okay, I've seen 1, 2, 3. This may be number 6 for Lake. So between the both of us, I think we got a pretty good handle on what's going on here. And, hey, special teams is going to be huge in a game like this. But at the end of the day, we hope that we see you at Byers Field in Parma. If you're not going to make the trip, lock it in, Rock 106.9, the free iHeartRadio app. You can stream it also, WRQK.com. And
check our Twitter feed as well. We're going to have live videos coming from the sideline on the Stark Media Team Twitter feed.
You going to be up there handling that duty? Who's going to be up there?
I got some guys going. I think
staff.
Actually we're going to have a little special bonus coverage for you at Stark Media. Myself, Mark Milano, we're going to go out. We're going to head up to Twinsburg, and we're going to call the Hudson-Hoban game. So you can catch that on our YouTube channel. We'll bring that to you. That kind of gives you a little bit of a preview on what our two local teams, whoever wins, may end up facing. But we'll have some guys up there bringing you some video down on the sidelines. So check the video. Listen to our guy right here. Nobody does it better. And it's at the end of the day, it's going to be a fun night. It's going to be a great football. It's football at its finest in Northeast Ohio. What more could you ask for?
And against two teams that have never faced each other, very proud traditions, great community support. I can't, and I'm not dissing any fan bases, so please don't take it this way. But Massillon fan base, Lake, the support.
Yeah.
I mean, this is. Can you imagine if the game was held locally? Can you imagine how many people would be there? But I think they're going to show up, and we're going to get ready for a great game Friday night, Byers Field in Parma. Kickoff at 7 o'clock, and we'll have it covered here, Rock 106.9. And, of course, check us out on Stark Media, at Stark Media Team on Twitter, Facebook, all those great things, the iHeartRadio app. We're going to be ready to roll from Parma Friday night at 6:45. We're going to take a break here on Spit Ballin with Sammy B, coming to you from the beautiful Jerzees Cafe in downtown Canton, part of the big Centennial Plaza. Back with more. Stay with us.
At C.H. Vallis & Associates, we've been proudly serving the greater Stark County community for over 78 years. Locally owned, we cover your home, auto, business, and life insurance along with your group benefits. Our partnership with auto owners has allowed us to span not only Ohio, but throughout the entire country. Did you know that Auto Owners, an A++ rated company by AM Best and a Fortune 500 company, has ranked C.H. Vallis & Associates a top 10 insurance agency in the state of Ohio? From your basic home and auto needs to insuring some of the largest companies in America, there's a reason people choose C.H. Vallis & Associates and Auto Owners. Our dedication and passion for our clients and their coverage is part of our commitment to excellence. For all your insurance coverage needs, there's only one call to make, and that's C.H. Vallis & Associates, located at 1302 South Main Street in North Canton. Contact us at 330-494-2776 today and see the difference in customer satisfaction.
Chris McCready's and his team at Finally Hear Hearing Aid Center in Canton offer up over 30 years of experience for their customers who are hearing impaired. Head over to their website at finallyhearohio.com and schedule your free hearing aid test and evaluation today. They're a best of the best award-winning company that prides themselves on customer service. Stop down and see them at 1201 30th Street Northwest or contact them at 492-1212 for an appointment. And thank you for sponsoring Stark Media's finallyhearohio.com Player of the Game.
Back on Spit Ballin with Sammy B. We are coming to you from the beautiful Jerzees Cafe in downtown Canton, part of the Centennial Plaza. You can get a look behind us here. They've got incredible TVs. They got the great staff here behind the bar, the tremendous food. You got Centennial Plaza, the big screen out here. Any day of the year. I know it's wet and it's cold. Obviously, we're not saying, hey, come on down and sit outside. No, but come on down, come on inside, enjoy all they have to offer here at Jerzees. Shout out to Chris Majori and his great staff here. They have done a tremendous, tremendous job, and we appreciate their support of the Stark Media family. Okay. We talked high school. We talked little Lake, little Massillon, little OHSAA, little fun there. Folks, at some point, the fun has to end, right? We have to take a detour.
It's like every week
to sadness. You know where I'm going here. The 3-6 Cleveland Browns again down in Miami last weekend, 39-17. They fall to the Dolphins. And I got a couple of notes here that I jotted down from Sunday, and completely I washed those out, and I have 3 new ones here. Okay, Cleveland Browns. First of all I keep hearing is, well, they're so talented. Really?
Yeah, they get paid money. That's why.
Okay. Are they that talented? Really? Is it underachieving talent? or are they just not that talented in the first place? What say you? Because I am of the believer, look, we've got big names. That doesn't mean you're good. Okay, Myles Garrett, Denzel Ward, Grant Delpit, 3 or 4 other guys that I saw running around on the field at Hard Rock Stadium on Sunday afternoon. Never heard of them. I don't know where they pick these guys up off the heap. Okay, you're not that talented. You're not, and you have a bad defensive coordinator. If you think they're talented, by all means, sway me and convince me. But I don't see it.
Listen, that first part there was so deep. I got to tell you, I did not pass psychology my first go around down there at Ohio State, and I felt like a psychological question here because I don't know. I've always operated under the assumption that as I spent a little bit of time in the NFL, I've been around a lot of guys in the NFL that you do not get paid money in the NFL by NFL owners if you're not good, if you're not great. You have to be a great talent to get paid money by people to play in the NFL. But somewhere along the way here, things have just gone awry. And, I mean, Myles Garrett, I think, is somebody that sticks out to everybody. Yes, we know that he's got a ton of sacks. I believe he is the career holder for the Browns, right? Yeah. Okay, great job. But is it winning you games? Is it getting you to the postseason? What is it doing? What it did the other day, as you mentioned, 3 dudes who, where'd they come from? Well, they put together 195 yards on the ground. And let's just remind everybody that there's only 4 other teams in the NFL that were running the ball more ineffectively than the Miami Dolphins. And the Miami Dolphins are the 28th rush attack offense in the league, and they come and they just Swiss cheese us. Where's Myles Garrett at?
They did.
JOK was out. We missed him. We needed him. We need toughness across the board. You know, really, lately one of the only bright spots I've seen is a guy like Tommy Togiai from Ohio State. He's done some good things. You know, for me, it's when are the guys that are getting paid the most to do the most stand up and actually do something. Go to battle. Get a win. Get a stop.
Fight.
Get a stop on 3rd down and get your defense off the field. Give your offense an opportunity.
Act like you care. That's what bothers me the most. Again, guy that was there at the highest level. I know you cared. I know you had passion. I know you wanted to win. I know you. If you made a mistake, you didn't come through the right gap, or you missed it, you were mad.
Yeah.
Okay. You got. Look. Show me that you care. I know the quarterback out in Vegas the other day.
Carr.
Help me out, Derek Carr. He almost was crying at the podium. I'm not saying I want to see that, but at least he cares. He wants to win, and he's pissed, and he's
passion.
Not happy about it. Okay? Look, show me that you want to win. Show me that this is bothering you. Number one, I think, and look, again, just because you have a talent, your name and talent in name, it doesn't mean you're a great player. It doesn't. And just because, and we've seen this for decades, just because you're taking number 1 or a second round, it doesn't mean you're good. Okay? You got to go out and you got to play. I think our talent evaluators stink right now with the Cleveland Browns. Reaching. Oh, you ought to see this guy. I'm waiting. Okay, that's number 1. I don't think there's much talent on this team as everybody leads us to believe. Okay? Number 2, analytics. Paul DePodesta. Paul DePodesta might be running the greatest scam of all time. And there's a lot of people out there running a lot of scams. Okay? And I don't need to tell you who they are. Okay? This is football. It's about heart. It's about smarts. I'm not going to point down below the table, but it's about that too, okay? We need to take a little bit of the number crunching out of our philosophy and start to think about how a football guy would do it. What a football player is expected to do at certain downs and distances in certain situations. You know, our guy Stefanski, you see this on the sideline. I'm gonna double up my menu here. This is what we see. from Kevin. No, I'm sorry. Wait a minute. This is what we see from Kevin Stefanski. Bro, get out of the menu. Coach your football team. Talk with your players. Let them know that you are in charge as a whole and not just calling plays. Guys will appreciate that. Not all Kevin's fault. There is a guy by the name of Van Pelt there that I think helps with putting the game plan together. I'm not sure Kevin can coach the football team and be the OC and do what a head coach is supposed to do for the entire game. I think we're missing here. I don't know what you do now. You're 8 games in. You don't have your starting quarterback yet.
Oh, it's getting close.
Okay, that's getting close, and who knows what that's going to be. So I think analytics has kind of screwed this team up a little bit as well. So I take that, and then I go Di Podesta, then I go to Barry, then I go to Jimmy in D. Could that be where the problem is?
Maybe. It's Moneyball reverse. Those analytics, they're not working for you. One of the things that people fail to forget is that, I get it, a guy can run a 4.40, but what you talked about earlier, Sam, when we were talking about some of those Lake linebackers, natural instinct when the ball is snapped. You can't measure that stuff out there at the NFL Combine doing the pro agility drill. Yeah, a guy can move his hips. He can turn his hips. He can flip them. He can do all this. That's great. But when the ball is snapped, does he have the right instincts to put him in a position to even be able to utilize that? Your first step, what you're seeing, your pad level, all this stuff. There's so many different things from the fundamental level of where it starts. And I've been very hard on the offensive line at Ohio State this year because, they've been intact until this past week when they started a new right tackle, but there's a lot of games where they've looked sloppy up front, and you can tell that the run game has been affected by it. It's just coming down to a first 2 steps. It's how high are you playing? How are you bending at the hips? There's so many different things that you can measure, right? But what you said right here, does he have it in his heart? And that's where you can just wipe everything off the table. Give me a guy like a Santonio Holmes, who is not the fastest wide receiver, or maybe even the best wide receiver coming out in the draft his year. But you know what? He ran routes better than any wide receiver probably in the league at the time. And that's why he was a Super Bowl MVP. He wasn't a 4.40 guy. He might have been like a 4.6 or a 4.7.
Didn't have to be.
Ran perfect routes, had heart, was the first dog that was going to jump up in the fight, wanted to win more than anybody else out there. Those are the type of guys you need. Those might be some of the guys that we're lacking.
And I be 100% honest, he was a Buckeye. Couldn't stand Santonio Holmes. He played for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yep.
But I'm going to tell you what right now, I want that guy in the bunker with me every
100.
single time I go out there and play football. You got to play with heart. You got to act like you care. Never mind all the millions being thrown around and all the perks and everything that comes with being with a professional athlete. Especially, and I don't want to sound like too much of a homer, but especially here in Ohio. I mean, look at what it is outside today, okay? But this is what gets us going. We don't go out there and play in 75 and with palm trees. That's not what we do here. It's Cleveland, the old tired, the lunch pail, the hard hat, the gloomy skies, the Marlboro man on top of the old municipal stadium. That's what we are. And we don't have that right now. And I was talking to my guy here at the bar down here at Jerzees, behind the bar. I've always been a Cleveland Browns fan my entire life. Indians, Browns, Cavs, Buckeyes, okay? The big four. And it's just kind of how it is. Now, I'm being 100% honest here, folks. I am slowly going the other way because you know what? I find it very hard. I find it more difficult to love, let alone like this team, this organization. They make it so difficult. Like the Cavs, I just want to go up there and give them a big bear hug because of the way they carry themselves, the way they play, the way they get along with each other, what they do in the community, all the way from Gilbert to Bickerstaff to the guy who's cleaning off the seats on the floor. That's who we are. That's what we want to be. That's what we want people to be like. Cavs have lost 4 games in a row. I don't love them any less,
right?
Because I love what they're about and how they play, and I love their approach. Same with the Cleveland baseball team. Tito, Hosey, guys that are just fighting, scratching, clawing, not making a whole lot as opposed to what other guys are being paid in the major leagues. But they play hard. They give it to you every game. They don't quit. They get along with each other. They're great in the community. The Browns, they don't reflect what we are, I don't think. And I don't know if they are aware of that or if they don't care. But there's a culture thing going on. And it starts at the top of the trail in the building. And, again, I'm going to go back to Jimmy and Dee Haslam again. And you know what rolls downhill? I don't think that I can find it, at least right now, to say, man, I love my Cleveland Browns. Because right now, I don't.
Boy,
I don't.
I think you've had more people probably jump off of that train and go down to what Joe Burrow and those guys are doing down in Cincinnati. Mm-hmm. He's a local guy. He's a hometown guy. He's an Ohio kid. For me, though, it goes back to, do you care? I mean, most people would think that Jimmy Haslam cares because he invested $1 billion into buying the football team. But do you really care?
It's an investment. Because
you're not putting the right people in the right place because it's not working out. So what do you do moving forward? I mean, you talked about the stuff offensively. How many games were you like, why are we not giving it to Nick Chubb? He might be the best back in the NFL. And you even looked at me and said one time, so you know what? I would not blame him if he asked for a trade.
No.
Wouldn't blame him.
I wouldn't.
You know what? It would suck to lose a great back like that. And almost you have this talent here for this long, and you can't do anything with it. You feel like this guy's wasting away great years of his running back life.
Prime of his life in the NFL.
You feel bad about that. Just the operation of him and Kareem Hunt and how it should be so successful. Mm-hmm. And let's not forget, too, as we get ready to face the Bills next, we had an opportunity to have Josh Allen on this team, didn't we? We went a different direction.
We did.
Hey, he still spins the ball in the snow up there in Buffalo. So, even in bad weather, there's great quarterbacks that still get it done. It's a crapshoot. You and I are both gamblers, man. We were talking about it with our guy Rocky Sweeney. We're talking about the odds in a draft. Roll the dice, and you hope Baker Mayfield worked out. It didn't. Roll the dice and hope Trent Richardson works out. It didn't. So certain things, the way it goes. Roll the dice. Take Joe Thomas, 3rd overall, first ballot Hall of Famer, right? And that's what this Nick Chubb thing feels like. Mm-hmm. You feel like, God, you got one of the best in the game, one of the best to ever maybe do it.
He's never going to get a shot because of how things are going on. Again,
but life's not fair, right?
No, life's not fair. And look, I know there's more important things going on in the world right now, but this is our release. This is our fun. This is supposed to be go get them, boys. And again, I don't feel it with the Cleveland Browns right now. And do I hope they turn it around? Absolutely. Am I going to go pick another NFL team to root for? Hell no. I'm never going to do that. I'm never going to jump to another team. But I'll be damned if my life is gonna revolve around Sundays at 1 and 4 o'clock with this team right now, because they're not showing me they care enough for me to invest my time. And I don't know if anybody else agrees or disagrees. That's okay, but that's how I feel right now, and I don't want to feel that way. Hey, man, since I was old enough to figure out a remote to turn on the TV,
Browns.
1 o'clock, I'm there, and if I couldn't be, I was angry. Okay. Or if I wasn't allowed to stay up for a Monday night game, or if I had to miss a game because I had a function to go to, I was furious. I don't feel that way anymore. I don't.
Yeah, I'll tell you,
life will go on.
Tell you what, I raked leaves and picked up dog crap. It felt better to me than watching that.
Yeah.
But you know what? At the end of the day, we still got the Buckeyes on Saturday.
We got the Buckeyes.
They're still marching towards a college football playoff. So when all else fails, scarlet and gray. We got them all back up.
Yeah. How many times have we said that over the years? Thank God for Ohio State. I mean, really. Yep. That's just kind of the way it's been. We'll pivot. We'll talk a little Buckeyes here. I'm still a little worried because look, Indiana was a scrimmage, okay, and they had a lot of guys out too.
Yeah.
They had a lot of people say, how did Vegas make that a 41.5 point? Because Indiana's not very good, and the good players that Indiana had were not available. Okay. By the way, the Buckeyes won by 42. Vegas is still very good. So I don't know what we learned. I mean, I guess we learned we could bounce back from not a very good performance against Northwestern. Of course, the weather was a little bit more conducive for us this past weekend. Still cold, but it wasn't 30, 40-mile-an-hour winds blowing off Lake Michigan at Northwestern. But I'm still a little worried, TJ, because I, like a lot of folks, I'm looking ahead to the maize and blue coming in here. I think we'll beat Maryland. I don't think it's going to be a Picasso, but I think we'll beat Maryland. For the first time in I don't know how long, I am worried about the Michigan game because I am worried about our toughness, our mean streak. I'm worried.
Yeah, I think a lot of people would echo those sentiments. I mean, listen, this running back group is like just beaten to crap right now. Mm-hmm. Mayan Williams is banged up. If you saw the injury the other day, the way he got his ankle rolled up, it's like, I mean, would you even want to put him out there against Maryland? No. Rest these guys up. Get them healthy. You need Trev out there. It almost seems like ever since Evan Pryor went down in preseason, it was like, okay, yeah, we've got this great stable of wide receivers, but now this running back room is going to start to become decimated. And the big piece to me the other day, which really felt good, because this run game has not felt good, and it starts with the guys up front. If they're not getting it done, I don't care who you have back there running the football, it's not going to work. And I don't see guys coming off the ball. I don't see guys that are tough. I don't see any nasty pricks out there. And that's what you got to be. You
got to be nasty.
In there.
You got to be.
I lived it and breathed it for 3 years. It wasn't easy, but that's where you have to put your headspace if you're going to play Big Ten football. You've got to be the nastiest person out there. They subbed in Josh Fryer at right tackle. He played for DeJuan Jones. And I felt like it changed a little bit. I liked it. I liked what number 70 brought to the game. I liked what he brought to the offense. He was a guy that's waited to get his opportunity. He was prepared, ready to go, took full advantage of it. But still, you're not going to go all the way with just Dallin Hayden. You're not. You need more. You need guys that are healthy. And, gosh, I keep thinking about this guy by the last name of Trainum, that if he gets out there.
Chipper.
Did he win a couple of state championships as a running back for Hoban? Maybe he's a guy. Let him carry the rock. I know he was out last week, but let him carry the rock. C.J. Stroud, he's a Heisman Trophy candidate. He's a contender for it. He's got great wide receivers, but he still needs a run game. You got to have it. You can't just put it all on his shoulders and say, go win us the game by throwing the ball, because when you go to play against Georgia, it's not going to get it done. You've got to have somebody that can go out there, get you 100 yards. You got to have an offensive line out there that wants to go and attack the people across from them and create and punish and impose their will. Those are some things I don't see right now. Luckily for us, we got the boys in blue at home. That's a good thing.
That's one good thing. Let me throw this to you quickly. CJ showed us a little bit of willingness to run the ball against Northwestern.
Yeah.
Still not enough for my liking. And look, I don't want my quarterback out there getting killed.
No.
But CJ, you got to run a little bit, because I've seen a lot of open space, and you're not running it. You're waiting, and most of the time you're just kind of chucking it out of bounds when you could maybe go get a 6, 7, 8, 10, 12 yards. Again, you're a thrower first.
Yep.
Okay, you could be the Heisman Trophy winner as a quarterback. I need you to run a little bit. Be smart about it. Get down. But I need you. I need that element, because I think the Buckeye offense needs that element. You know what I mean? Defenses know he's not going to run.
Right.
You got to make him guess a little bit.
At least once in a ball game, and for every Heisman Trophy quarterback out there, Troy Smith did it a lot more than a lot of other quarterbacks, but at least once throughout one of their seasons, they had to take on two defenders and take a shot and pick up a first down. And you know what? Last year in Ann Arbor, C.J. Stroud had that opportunity, and he came up lame duck.
Yep.
He didn't get it done. He was not tough enough at that moment to get it done. I'm not saying that this kid's not tough. I'm not saying that he's not a great quarterback. He's doing phenomenal things, and I hope he becomes the next Heisman Trophy winner since Troy Smith. But inside of one of that ball game, you're going to have a moment and an opportunity to prove yourself. And I've said this for years, Sam, over broadcasts that you and I have done. Nothing endears your teammates and your offensive line like a quarterback who will go up there and take a helicopter shot like John Elway, who will risk his body, risk being out there healthy on the field to be able to get the first down, get the extra yard. C.J. Stroud has to show that. You're going to have to. And there's times where it's like, you mentioned it. You see him like, you could pull that thing. It's wide open over there.
It's there.
Pull it and take
Go.
it and slide. Just
you
go
don't
take
have
it
to
and
get
slide.
hit.
You don't have to take a wallop,
No.
but pick up the easy 6-7 yards.
Make it easier on yourself for the rest of the way, and your OC and Coach Day and everybody. CJ, just run the ball a little bit. Run the ball a little bit and get down.
Not a lot, just a
okay,
little bit.
just a little. Give us 7 or 8 times a game. Get down, get out of harm's way. Let's move the ball. But I am a little worried about the Michigan game. We'll talk about that, I'm sure, next week. But right now the Buckeyes will be in Maryland. About a 27.5-point favorite, I think, right now.
It'll finish 28.
We'll see. We'll see what happens. He's learning, folks. He's learning. He's coming around. Don't forget, January 2nd, we can actually talk about that kind of thing. So, anyway, Buckeyes, 3:30, Maryland coming up here on Saturday. Before we end this segment, and we'll come back and talk a little Cavs, a little bit of Walsh, and we'll wrap things up. Over the weekend, I had the opportunity for the first time in my broadcasting career, which has been a while, been over 30 years, I got to call a Hail Mary touchdown. And, folks, if you would have told me that it was going to be a Mount Union game, I'd have laughed you from here to Vegas. Because I've seen a lot of 59-3 games in my life, a lot of 77-6 games in my life. Okay, I'm used to digging into the filler bag about the second quarter. You're there with me for a couple years, right?
We've pulled some stuff out of the rear end. That's for sure.
You got to keep the people engaged. You got to talk about other things besides what's going on the football field in front of you. I would have never dreamed that a Mount Union game would come down to a Hail Mary and the Raiders would need it to win. Just a very quick recap. Mount Union at Baldwin-Wallace, 20, 30-mile-an-hour winds, snow, rain, yuck, right? That's just the way it was. Purple Raiders looking for another OAC championship all alone, another undefeated season, another year of hosting the first round of the playoffs in the Division III football playoffs. They're up 17-0 on Baldwin-Wallace. Credit the Yellow Jackets. They come back. They scored 21 in a row. I thought, ooh, okay. Yellow Jackets score with 22 seconds to go in the game. It's 21-17. Place is going nuts. I mean, these people want blood up there in Berea. They're ready to crush the field. They were going to take the goalpost down. They better rip the bleachers out. I'm telling you, they were in a frenzy up there. Personal foul for a choreographed celebration after the touchdown.
Oh, wow.
BW, okay? So guess what? Now keep in mind the Purple Raiders had one timeout left. Now instead of kicking off from the 35-yard line, BW is kicking off from the 20. Now Mount Union can afford to do the fair catch, keep that extra 15 yards, and not have to use 1 second off the clock, and it actually benefited them for field position.
Wow.
Now, I know this is crazy, 22 seconds, one timeout. They run a couple of crossing plays. And I'm thinking, oh, my God, get out of bounds, get out of bounds, get out of bounds. They did. I think it was Echeverry who got a couple balls in the middle of the field, was able to get 6, 7, 8 yards, get out of bounds. So they are at the Mount Union 48-yard line. Call their timeout. Wind's whipping, the snow's coming down. As I mentioned, the Baldwin-Wallace fans are ready to riot. They hadn't beat Mount since 1991, okay? At home. They're ready to go, man. They are primed and ready. Raiders come out of the timeout. I'm looking at the flag. I'm looking at the snow. I'm going, I don't know about this. Braxton Plunk goes back to throw. Throws it, rolls out, throws it as hard as he can. The ball lands in the air. It starts to make its descent about the 10-yard line. You're 10 yards away, okay? Probably nothing good going to happen here. Kid from Baldwin Wallace who transferred from Mount Union has the ball go off his chest, off his face mask, does one of it forward hops in the air about 7 yards.
Who was it, Harry? Was it Harry Boker?
No.
Oh.
No. I don't know who the young man was. I apologize for that.
Still, though, interesting enough that
And so the ball is – now time has already run out. The ball is hanging in the air. Here comes Wayne Ruby Jr. Johnny on the spot, slithers in and out of all this traffic. The ball lands right here, and he gets in this close, the end zone, before he went out of bounds.
Wow.
And the game's over, and the Purple Raiders win, and it set off one of the most bizarre celebrations I've ever seen because we're broadcasting on the home side of the field. It was like a death. I told you, they're ready to run the field and tear down the post, shake the lamps. They're ready to
light Trestle
they're
Field
ready
on
to
fire.
destroy everything. And all of a sudden, it's quiet. Now, I'm screaming my head off. I couldn't believe it. And the Mount College station, those kids are screaming their head off. And Tim Rogers is sitting right next to me. I can't well, I could, but I won't. Once I start getting comfortable with swearing on the show, I'm going to start doing it a lot more. But he delivered a quote that will live on from infamy, and someday I'll tell you what it was. And all of a sudden, you see the other side, the Mount folks are going nuts. And the Raiders had a little bit of a student section. They had some moms and dads who had actually come down onto the field before the last play, but way behind the end zone, just to get a good view of what the Hail Mary was going to be. And they are just going berserk. And I still can't believe it happened. I still can't believe it happened. But it was one of the most unbelievable endings I've ever seen in college football. So congratulations to Coach Dart and the Raiders. You got that perfect season again. You got that outright OAC championship again, I think number 33, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
And you're going to host Salisbury coming up here. Not Sean Salisbury, Salisbury College.
The Salisbury Stakes.
Coming up here Saturday at noon.
We called a Salisbury game before back in the day.
We did. And hopefully the Raiders will win that and get to keep on hosting until maybe possibly they go to the Stag Bowl coming up here. But, man, I'm out of breath. Partly I'm out of shape, but number two, because I was so excited about what happened to that game.
And if you
I never thought I'd do it in my life.
If you didn't get a chance to hear it, go back to our Twitter feed again, Stark Media Team. Go over to our Facebook page at Stark Media, and we got the call up there.
It's there.
And it's awesome. It's there. It's history. A lot of people are like, "Hey, to throw a Hail Mary to beat BW?"
Yeah, right.
But you know what? You and I have always kind of felt that through the last 10 years, that BW has gotten right back up underneath where Mount, John Carroll. And then who's the next guy in the OAC?
It's
kind of
that
like
way.
B-Dub, maybe like Ohio Northern, Heidelberg.
Sometimes, yep.
But, you know, B-Dub's always kind of been right there. I mean, we did a game up there years past where, I mean, BW came out and went up like 14-0 on him real quick. You know, I mean, B-Dub, is it still Coach Hilvert that's there?
Yes.
Coach Hilvert does a great job.
There, yep.
He's a tough dude. He knows the Cleveland area. But, wow, that's pretty cool. And that's pretty cool for you to be able to throw that feather in your cap there from your long broadcasting career. Never to be able to see that. How many guys have gone through their broadcasting career or never seen, got to call a championship or this or that. But Hail Mary to win it on the road,
under
in the
circumstances
snow.
that you thought you're cooked.
Yep, that's pretty cool.
My heart was just like, oh, God.
What do you think Wayne Ruby Jr.'s heart was doing? He's sitting there thinking, Christmas.
I got to tell you a quick story here. By the time we got packed up, and everybody's in euphoria in the press box, and we're Dean Marino, who has the ground video of it. He's up there with trying to edit it real quick and show us what happened, and we're all watching everything. And so we go down to the field, and my partner Will the Thrill was able to get a hold of Wayne Ruby Jr. So I came in when they were finishing up the interview. And Will reaches in, shakes Wayne's hand. I went up to Wayne and I go, man, before that play, I didn't have to go to the bathroom. But after what just happened, I had to run downstairs. thank you for catching that ball. I get a little fist pump, and we laughed, and we carried on. But that was just that was incredible. And go Mount Union, and let's try to get a little
get that title.
Let's get a little stag bowl here in 2022.
14. Go get number 14.
Go get number 14.
Go get it.
We're ready for it. All right, we'll take a break. We'll come back. We'll kind of wrap things up here. We are at Jerzees Cafe at the Centennial Plaza in downtown Canton. Spit Ballin with Sammy B here on the Stark Media YouTube channel. We'll be back.
McNeil & Sons Tree Service serves the greater Northeast Ohio area by keeping your property clear all year round. Do you have trees that have stretched too close to your home? A rotted tree that has to go? Or perhaps even storm damage? No job is too big or small for McNeil & Sons. We specialize in large tree removal, storm damage, stump grinding, land clearing, and more. McNeil & Sons Tree Service is fully licensed and insured, so contact us today at 330-606-1126 for all your tree care needs, or visit us online at mcneiltree.com to schedule your free quote. The professionals at McNeil & Sons can inform you of your tree health and give you a risk assessment to keep your family protected. So call today, 330-606-1126. McNeil & Sons Tree Service, a company you can depend on with family you can trust.
You came to Stark Media for the best? Well, now you got it. Check out Lindsay's Pizza on 2827 Whipple Avenue Northwest inside of the Hillsdale Shopping Center. The preferred post-game pizza of the Stark Media team is open until 11 p.m., and it has all the essentials for game day. Pizza, chicken, salads, and sandwiches are just a click away at lindsayspizza.com. But you should trust a former Ohio State All-American and just call them right now at 330-477-3800. 477-3800. This is TJ Downing for Lindsay's Pizza, and I approve this message.
Welcome back to Spitball with Sammy B. We are here at Jerzees at the Centennial Plaza in downtown Canton. What a great place to come. Lunch, dinner, late night stack. Grab yourself a drink. Check out some of the great things going on right here in downtown Canton. Shout out to Chris Majori and the staff and the crew here. Great people. They'll take care of you. Doesn't matter what day, what time. Jerzees Cafe at Centennial Plaza here in downtown Canton. All right, I'm going to talk a little bit of Cavs, and we're going to wrap, but I wanted to mention we lost Lenny Reich a couple of weeks ago, the longtime sports information director at the University of Mount Union. And I know I got very close to Lenny. You got very close, as a lot of us did. Heck, there wasn't, there was at least 14, 15 Saturdays that we spent with each other during between September and December, and then for basketball games and baseball games, and it's just we get the it was a great relationship. Whether we were talking about Mount Union, we were talking about the horse track, whether it was tribe baseball,
a beer and a hot dog,
it didn't matter. Lenny was such a wonderful man,
great man,
and I can't help but say, there was a little, not a memorial, there was a little display in the press box. It has Lenny's picture, there was a rose, and I think there may have been a quote or two on a piece of paper that was framed. And it sat there. This was up in Baldwin Wallace as they paid tribute to Lenny. And I can't help but think, maybe that had a little something to do with the Hail Mary. Look, I'm not the most practicing Catholic in the world. I would be looked at probably as a creaster. I show up to church at Christmas
crusader.
and Easter. Okay?
He's a crusader.
Hey, shush. I go to church all the time. But I'm telling you what, I felt a little bit of that going on Saturday, and I just wanted to mention that, Lenny. We're thinking about you, bud, and we miss you. And hopefully maybe
his wife and daughter.
Yes, maybe you did have a little something to do with that miracle up in Berea. All right. Cleveland Cavaliers, as we put a close. They've lost 4 games in a row. It's okay, man. They're going to be fine. They got the Milwaukee Bucks coming up Wednesday night. They just got off of a long West Coast trip. I mean, they bowled it out to an 8-1 start, and then they actually took care of business the first 2 games of that roadie, and then they had that meltdown against the Clippers, and then they had a meltdown against Sacramento, and then
T-Wolves.
Steph and the mouthpiece got them. And then they came back to the Timberwolves, and they got and Donovan was out, Dean Wade was out, and somebody else was out. They had 3 guys out. They get down 20 points in the first quarter. DG goes off for 51, brings them all the way back. They can't win it. But guess what? They showed fight. Okay, they showed fight. And they came up short. But they got the Bucks coming up. But, man, this is a team. Come on in, boys, for a bear hug. Love this team. Love this coaching staff. And I think big things are in store. Are they going to win a championship this year? No. Are they going to win one next year? Probably not. But, man, we're building. We're building something special, and I can't wait to get to a game.
And that goes back to the ownership right down the street, right?
You got it.
You're willing to spend, to build, to trade, to move pieces to make it the right fit. You know, we gave up a lot of pieces to get Donovan Mitchell in, but, man, is he a player? And when he's, you know, we hope to get him back here soon. But, man, light it up. Put the right pieces on the court. Do what you have to do for your team. I know it seems like with the Dolans, that's been an issue for years. People have said, oh, you know, we're small market. Guys are just going to leave because they're not going to pay him the money. Well, you know what? Mr. Gilbert gets it right. And I think that the coolest thing, the coolest feel of it all is like last man standing. Kevin Love is like the old guard that
Grandpa.
is stayed from the Tristan Thompson, LeBron James, Kyrie, and all this goofiness. I mean, this is the dude last left standing, you know, and I think these guys have kind of rallied around him and they listen to him almost like he's a coach himself out there. And when he comes in, he's still giving you valuable minutes. He knows his role, he knows his place. Train these young guys, be wisdom, be guidance for them, be a shoulder and an ear to listen, and you yourself you almost feel like he's getting extra years because of it, and he's staying young.
He's being re-energized
because of it. There's a youthfulness that has been reinvigorated inside of him, and that's good to see. Obviously, when DG drops 51, that's also fun to see. But you know, when you drop 51, you expect to get the W. They started slow. T-Wolves dropped 40 on them. Cavs dropped 40 in the fourth quarter. So it just goes to show you, it's a long season. But whatever the sport is, you got to start fast.
Yep, and they're going to be just fine. I think I love the temperament of this team, how they get along. And look, are there going to be bumps and roller coaster rides? Of course, it's 82 games, but I think this team's going to be there at the end. My hope is, TJ, that they at least lock up a 4 spot and get a home round first round. Forget this play-in crap. Get that home court in the first round and see what happens. You know how the NBA is. It's a build. It's a slow grind. You're not just going to win the title because you had an acquisition and a nice draft. It's a process. You got to pay your dues. And right now it's the Milwaukee Bucks that are kind of sitting there doing their thing, and the Warriors are still doing their thing. But I think this Cavaliers team is going to be there. They're fun to watch. And, again, I can't wait to get to a game and watch them. Even if it's up in the 200, the nosebleeders, it's a great atmosphere up there at Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse, and we certainly can't wait to go up and do that.
Building a team, having young players means that, yes, let's qualify for the playoffs. Let's get in. We may not win it all, but just that little taste of it, that experience.
Yep.
It has these guys coming back into the short offseason thinking, wow, I want that again. Because
right.
It's different than the regular season. Playoffs, whatever sport you're in, postseason is different than the regular season. And once you get a taste of it, it's a drug.
You want the whole
It becomes
drink.
a drug.
You want the whole drink,
all
man.
the time.
You want it.
And guys will they'll do whatever they have to do. If it means, hey, I got to put an extra 2 hours each day in the room, 2 hours extra film study, I'll do it because I want to be back in that position.
That's right. So go get them. Cavs, hashtag, let them know. All right, before we wrap, speaking of the Cavs, we got a nice little Cavs team here in Stark County. The Walsh University Cavalier basketball team is off to a nice start, a quick one, only a couple of games in for Coach JY in the staff, but got some talent and got some nice local kids. Again, here's a team. You want to go check them out over at the Alumni Arena off of Maple, okay, Walsh University. A lot of home games, usually Tuesdays, Thursdays, Saturdays. Come on over. Check them out. We're going to be doing some games for there on the Walsh feed. You guys have done some stuff for the GMAC Digital Sports Network. So bring on the Walsh Cavaliers, baby. Let's go.
Yeah, it was fun. It was great that they had us come over there and host the crossover, which was the Great Lakes Valley Conference. We had Maryville and University of Missouri St. Louis represented in those two that conference. Also, over in the GMAC, the Great Midwest American Conference, you had Walsh, who hosted, and then you also had Tiffin, who was in there. So this was a 4-year deal that got screwed around with because of COVID. The first 2 years, Maryville and Tiffin, they hosted. Then COVID year canceled 1 year. Then the 4th year comes back. UMSL hosted, and now you're in the final year with Walsh. So hopefully they refire this thing back up. I think they will. They might look to do different teams, but it was really cool to see the crossover. It was really cool to be able to get eyeballs on Walsh real quick because they lost to the Tritons the night before, but then they played Maryville the following day. And they beat Maryville, and that's a good Maryville team.
Maryville's a good basketball
team. Good win for Coach JY, and I like that local feel. Garrison Kiesler, he's going to be the guy that rolls to it. And I know you remember this, partner. I think it was one of the first basketball games we ever called over there at North Canton for the Mercy Medical Classic.
Yep.
And Garrison was just like a young freshman, and he was so skinny, tiny out there running around the floor, and he got popped in his nose, and he was leaking blood all over the court. It was everywhere. And at that moment, I'm like, I'm going to remember this kid. And I'm still watching and thinking it was really cool the other day to see, and I don't know how long it's going to take to get him in the fold. Might take some time because he's still young, but Zach Odo, who was a phenomenal player out of Green last year, one of the best players in the area, one of the best players in the state. Him and Garrison, the way they're like talking to each other on the court during warm-ups, lobbing each other dunks, and the energy that they feed off of each other with Hazel Baker and Tim Smith. These guys are the leaders of this team. I think it's going to be an exciting year for Walsh basketball. They had a bunch of dudes out in the preseason. They had a scrimmage. Against one team. I'm drawing a blank on who it is right now, but that same team would get beat would beat Cleveland State, and Walsh was able to beat them. So they battled back and forth with having a couple startart out here and there. I'm drawing a blank.
Dame. Was it Notre Dame College?
It was Notre Dame College.
Beat Cleveland State the other
You know what? I'm drawing a blank on the young man's name from Brent Walker.
Brent Walker
from the McKinley Bulldogs. He's out right now. But you can tell they get him back. He's a piece that's going to play. He's a talented athlete, great basketball player. There's a lot of good dudes on this team, man. I'm excited to see where they go, man. I'm excited for all of us at the Stark Media team, yourself, Jeff, Lee, myself. We get out there and call a lot of women's and men's basketball games with our friends over there with the Walsh Cavaliers.
It's going to be fun, man. Quentin Tolles, you've got Timmy Smith. You talked about Kiesler. You talked about Odo. Brett Walker, when he gets healthy, they're going to be fun to watch. And Jeff Young's a great guy, too. I mean, here's a guy that I know has had other opportunities to go. And he's decided he's going to stay, and he loves Walsh and the Cavalier family, and it does a great job with the basketball program, and we're certainly lucky that he is still here.
Get over to the university, man. It's thriving.
Get over there.
I know you spent
a great place to watch a game,
spent a lot of your days studying, taking notes over
Sure,
there.
I did. Yeah, back in Alexis Hall when there was 2 dormitories back there. Now there's like 17. We had 2 of them.
Thriving, man.
Back in the day.
It's awesome. You got Larry Stout Field, the William and Kathleen Brockler press box, what they're doing across the street there, the Cicchini Center. It's fun. It's a great environment. Pack it. Get the student section in there. It's fun.
It's a great place to watch a game.
When you talk about small Division II college sports, it's got a feel. It's got a vibe. And when it's alive and there's some electricity in the gym, that's fun.
You know what I want to see? I want to see Mount Union and Walsh on the basketball floor.
Let's go.
Come on. JY, Michael Feuline, come on. Let's go. Let's get this thing going. All right. That's going to wrap it up. Sammy B and TJ. Spit Ballin with Sammy B here at Jerzees Cafe and the Centennial Plaza in downtown Canton. We'll be back next time here on the Stark Media YouTube channel.